as open and as clear and as honest as I possibly can without, you know, leaving myself too vulnerable or too open. But I want to be able to share this aspect of my journey for anyone who's thinking about moving abroad or just wanting a different, a change of lifestyle, and also for anyone that might be in a similar situation that I'm about to describe. So, what am I going to talk about today or right now? I want to share a little bit more about my financial journey when it comes to moving abroad and how I've been able to financially support myself in staying abroad. And yeah, so I'm going to try to make this kind of as like an overview, um, an outline per se. And if there's any aspects of my journey that you would like me to go into more detail with, explain a little bit more, then let me know in the comments and I can make a separate video. And also, I'm going to be kind of sprinkling in little tidbits and advice for anyone who is either one, trying to move abroad, or two, just want to get their financial life together. So let's get into it. Being a personal finance writer and a travel writer, I've gotten to share like little tidbits of my journey through some of the articles that I've written, but I've never really gotten to go into full detail with it. And being a coach, I think that I want to create more transparency and really start more conversations about the financial aspects of living abroad and even just finances in general. I think that money is definitely something more people should be comfortable talking about. So my goal for this video is I hope that you can learn from my journey, learn from my mistakes, learn from my successes, and be more financially secure in your moving abroad or living abroad journey, or in just whatever path of life you choose. I'm sure I've shared this in some form or whatever, but when I first moved abroad in 2017 in Panama, I moved to Panama City from California. I had about $3,000 saved. Now, that amount was sufficient for, I think, the first year. It got me through the first year, and one of the reasons why it did is because that was my savings more so to help me get started. That wasn't my savings that I had planned on living off of. Like, I didn't plan on living off of the $3,000. I had planned on going to Panama and finding work and working and having that, having an income to support my new life abroad, versus some people, they will save up definitely a lot more than $3,000. They'll save more like $10,000, $20,000, and then they'll go and they'll travel. That was not my intention. My intention was to move abroad, hustle. Me coming from California, I was just like, yeah, I'll make it work, and I did. I did make it work. When I moved to Panama, I started teaching English, and I worked for a company for a little bit, and then I started teaching classes online. I started networking with people and got in-person classes. I started, the average rate around like, $10, and then it went up to $20. And then there were some classes that I taught for $50 an hour, $10 an hour, $20 an hour, $50 an hour. And so I hustled. And not only that, I started teaching yoga classes. I taught dance classes as well. I did some babysitting. And I pretty much, used a lot of my skills and resources to teach, to get by because I had no other choice, So a lot of people ask, they're like, oh, how much should I save to move abroad? So my error is I didn't really do what I'm about to tell you that you should do now. If you are planning on moving abroad, you need to look at how much your cost of living is going to be and how much what the cost is to actually move and what the cost is to actually live where you want to live, and figure out what kind of life you want to live. Do you want to move abroad and not work for the first year or not work for the first couple of months that you're there? Do you want to retire abroad? Or do you want to move abroad and work and just start a new life like I did and kind of just really start a new life abroad? Figured all of that out first. I did not do that, and if I could go back, I would have saved a little bit more, and I would have actually sat down and punched out the numbers and really looked at what the costs were. So I think that would have eliminated some stress that I had in the beginning of my journey. I don't regret it though. I will say that because, every experience is a lesson learned. And I think because I hustled and because I put myself out there, I really did meet a lot of great people. I had a lot of great experiences. I did things I never thought I would do. But again, positives and negatives, like there were definitely a lot of stressful moments when it came to money, but I always had a place to stay. I always had, food to eat, even if it was just like the bare minimum. So definitely um, plan it out. And if you kind of need help with planning out like the logistics and numbers, then you let me know in the comments and I can do a separate video on like what it's actually like and what you need to consider when you're moving abroad logistically when it comes to finances. And if you need more help, then you can always reach out to me for a free call, and we can jump on a call and really kind of talk about what it looks like for you to move abroad financially. So Panama was a lot of hustling, and I made it work. When I moved to Spain, I can't remember. I don't know why, but I can't remember um, how much I saved to move abroad. But the good thing about moving abroad to Spain is I already had essentially a job, even though technically on paper it's not like a job because I wasn't receiving a salary, but I was receiving a monthly stipend. And that was about, I think, like 875 euros it was for the first 2 years. Oh, no, 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 lies. It was 875 a month for the first year. And then the second year, I moved cities where the cost of living was different. So my monthly stipend was like 700, I think. That all sounds really, really low. Most likely, if you're listening to this and you live in the States, and you're like, how could you survive on that? The cost of living in Spain is lower. I'll say this very carefully, is lower than the United States, but Spain, in my opinion, is not a cheap place to live. And I've been here for 6 years and I have seen the prices rise. Um, I've seen the housing, housing is a big issue right now. Um, Prices in the supermarkets are rising, transportation costs are rising. So if you're thinking, I know that there's a lot of information about Spain being a cheap country. Doesn't mean that being less expensive from the U.S. doesn't mean that it is exactly a cheap country, and it all depends on your salary. If you are someone, so again, if you're planning to move to Spain by chance, definitely look at your salary and look at where you want to live and compare your prices, compare your rent, compare your social security, compare taxes, because Spain does have a higher tax rate than a lot of other countries. So yeah. So that would so yeah, that's my little tidbit. But back to the story. Um when I moved to Spain, I had a job, but the super fun aspect of that is when I moved to Spain, I didn't get paid for I think like first 3 months. Yeah. Uh, so fun times. Pretty much there was issues with the program that I was in, and I won't go into too many details now, but I had to wait about 3 months to get paid. And again, so then that because of that, that like hustle mentality came through, and I was able to, work in agreement with my landlord. And I was like, hey, I have this contract. I will be getting paid. It's just a matter of time. And then I hustled. I, started teaching at an academy. I started tutoring to kind of, make sure I could just afford basic um, living expenses. I did have some savings. So again, going back to the savings aspect, it's just always good to have some money in the bank to give you some security. So I think even now, I'm as a freelancer, I'm always trying to prioritize. I'm always making sure I prioritize saving money because you never know. You never know when you're going to need, even if you never have any employment issues, like you might need to get an emergency ticket home or, or something might happen. Even if an emergency doesn't happen, like knock on wood, it doesn't. It's always just good to have money, in case you want to like upgrade, in case you go on a trip and the room wasn't what you expected to, then you can, change the room. You can use a little extra money that you save to upgrade if you need to. So I think that saving is a really big priority. And I've written several articles about saving and saving tips. And I've created strategies with my clients that I've worked with on saving. So if saving money is something that you are struggling with, then let me know. Leave a comment, or you can message me on Instagram or send me an email, and I would love to share more about different strategies to save money. Spain was a really pivotal moment in my financial career, I think, because it really forced me to be better with money. When I was in Panama, it was kind of still a lot of getting by. It was a lot of getting by. It was a lot of manifesting money because I definitely got a lot of, I earned money and found ways to find money that I like didn't expect. And it was great. But Spain was really like, all right, Kirsten, like, let's get serious about that. And I think the more I started writing about personal finance, and especially when I started working for Clever Girl Finance, which is one of the largest personal finance platforms in the US, I really started understanding like the processes and the mindset and what someone needs to do and how someone needs to manage their money in order to live financially stable. It's not even about, I think that there's a lot of messages about, wealth and being rich, and I think all that is great and inspiring, but I think that what isn't always talked about is just financial stability. And I've been able to start building the foundation of the financial stability here in Spain. I will say that. I think that you know, if when I say financial stability, I think it is about, having steady income and having not even having steady income, it's a really expansive term. It's kind of an umbrella term. Steady income. Being able to pay for your bills, being able to pay for the things that you want, just wants and needs, being able to pay down debt, which is something, or be able to eliminate your debt, which is something that I've been working on for my entire journey abroad, really. I would not recommend moving abroad with debt if you have to, or if you feel like it's just something you're willing to take on, then I would make sure you have a very strict repayment plan in place. Fortunately for me, I was able to pay off one of my debts while living in Spain, so that was really cool. And I think, and I've been able to make my debt manageable, and now I'm able to understand and use um, a credit card responsibly. I try not to, honestly, and a lot of the things that I do in Spain, I pay for in cash, which I think helps. Not everything. A lot of things, a lot of places accept credit or debit card, but Spain really helped me in becoming a freelancer and starting my own business and like doing my business full time. Really, really helped me to manage. Um, Manage, and it really helped me to be better with money, and because of the lower cost of living, that has helped me because freelancing can be a very up and down journey. It's different than working for like an employer that's going to pay you a set salary every month. Freelancing, sometimes I have months that are great, and then sometimes I have months that are like pretty bare bones. And so, but because I live in a city, if I lived in Madrid, my life would probably look a lot different. But because I live in a smaller city, I most recently live in a smaller city where the cost of living, I paid around 400 a month, or 400 euros uh, for rent when I first moved to Jaén, and recently moved in with my partner, so that has helped financially as well. I think always having some, living with someone often helps financially, usually. So I think that, but again, just if I didn't get better with money, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect with money. I think even people that are wealthy still make financial mistakes, or have areas that they can be better with. But I think now I have this, I'm wiser, and I have this desire to really put my financial life in the forefront and make it a priority instead of it being something that I just react to. And I don't think I would have been able to stay abroad for now 8 years if I hadn't gotten my finances together. And I remember one of my last clients, my last coaching clients that I had, she told me that, she was planning on moving her abroad too, and we helped her. We worked together, and she was able to take a 1 month trip to Ghana. And I remember one of the last things that she told me was that really looking at her finances and making that kind of like the center of the attention really just helped her plan out her life and plan out the things that she wanted. And when she got on top of her finances, it was a lot easier to put other aspects of traveling or moving abroad in place because she had her financial foundation set. So yeah, that is just kind of a really, really, really big overview of my financial journey. But I hope that sharing my story and my, hearing my mistakes and my successes, um, is something that inspires you and encourages you. And I think, ways, I hope this video encourages you to take a look at your finances, whether it be if you want to move abroad, whether if you want to travel more, whether it's you just want to get your life together. And let me know in the comments what stood out to you, or if there's anything else you would like to know, let me know in the comments. Ciao for now.